Hello golfers, I'm 5-Star Grog Splash and this is episode 2 of the How to Turbo Golf Racing series, helping you to learn the game in depth. In the last episode, we looked at the gameplay settings to set up a control scheme and get the game looking right. Today, we're going to dive into the game itself and take a deeper look into the levels of TGR so that we know what makes us faster and what slows us down. There's a lot to cover in this episode, so without further ado, let's get into it. First, we're going to be looking at the different ground surfaces in the game and how these affect both your ball and the car when going through them. Fairway, or normal grass, is the main surface in TGR, and this has a light green colour except for the circle around the hole, with either a striped or checkerboard pattern cut into it. On fairway, the ball will bounce and roll on a decent amount after landing, and here we can see that when driving with full gas but no boost on pretty flat ground, gives us a max pace of around 82 speed, which we can use as a reference to compare the other terrains. Rough grass is a common hazard on any golf course, and TGR is no exception. We can see here that the rough is darker than the fairway. Your ball will bounce and roll noticeably less when it lands in rough. On top of this, your car's speed will be reduced to around 52 while driving, which is just about 2/3 of your speed on the fairway. There is a specific core available called Rough Rider, which negates the speed drop for your car only, but we'll talk about that more in the core selection video of this series. Sand is the next surface we'll have to play through, and like most golfers, we'll want to avoid it as much as possible. Your ball will stop almost instantly regardless of the speed it arrives, and you might get one small bounce if you're lucky. Whilst driving through sand, your car's speed will be reduced to just 40, half of what we can do in the grass, so it's obvious we want to minimise the time we spend with four wheels in the sand. Generally, you can do this by attacking the ball while gliding, like we can see in this shot on Dust Bowl. For me, this is the key strategy to dealing with tough terrain. Avoid it entirely. There's also a core called Sandmaster, which works just like the Rough Rider core but with sand. If I had to pick one of the two, I'd have this one. Tiles frame the outside edges of all Turbo Golf racing holes and will show you that you're close to the edge of the play area. While on these, your car will travel at the same speeds as on fairway, but your ball will roll and bounce quite a bit more. Boost strips are the final surface we need to talk about, and they're the best. While driving on them, your speed will gradually increase up to a max of 100 and regenerate a small amount of boost at the same time. You won't use any boost whilst on the strips, and you'll see your boost meter turn green to show you this, just like if you get a fast start. It's definitely worth mentioning here that your ball will bounce and roll a lot less on the boost strips than on fairway. The effect is probably somewhere in between rough and sand in terms of slowdown. This can be particularly tricky if you hit the ball onto a ramp, which is also a boost strip, then the ball just limply falls over the edge for you to awkwardly collect it. This is what we call suboptimal play. Now, while we were on the edges looking at the tile, you probably noticed these visible barriers next to the level's edge. These show us the out of bounds area, and this is the area that is legal for us to play in. On some holes, there can be multiple routes which link back up at a central point. There are arrows and lights on the out of bounds surface which you can use to show you the way if you get lost. Use these while you're learning your way around the holes. You should know that contact from either your car or your ball with the boundary walls will trigger a reset. This means a couple of things to us while we're playing. First is that after you hit a big shot, you should take care not to glide too close to the edges and risk losing a shot which is still in play. The second is that if you've hit a shot which is clearly and definitely about to go out of bounds, you should just manually reset using the reset key, usually select, right away, so you can get back to shooting inside the boundaries as quickly as possible. It's also worth saying that some holes have gaps in the out of bounds, which enable you to take shortcuts, at the risk of falling into the gap if you mess up the shot. You will definitely want to practice these in time trial before you start blasting your ball into the void online. The rings of Turbo Golf Racing are one of the most useful elements in the whole game. These rings are found in almost every hole and basically throw the ball, or car, in a set direction and speed once they're hit. A huge part of learning the game is going to be loading up all the levels and finding out what each ring does and thinking about if you should be using that for your line or if it could help keep you out of trouble when things don't go to plan. Some rings have a cooldown, which means that they can be used only by one ball every few seconds. Cars won't trigger it. This means that if it's the fastest or safest route, you might need to make sure you're first to it in multiplayer races. Many holes have rings which will guarantee scoring into the hole, which can eliminate some risk from your run, but you can still be beaten by someone who can hit an accurate direct shot to the hole. There are also lots of examples of holes with recovery rings, which tend to be behind the hole and can help you minimize lost time after missing a finishing shot. An interesting thing to know about the rings is that the position you hit the ring will affect where the ball goes to a small degree. To show what I mean, we're on the hole avalanche here, and on the first shot I'm hitting to the right side of this ring. This sends the ball towards the hole, but because of the way this ring is set, this will only land close to the hole on the right, needing another shot to finish. However, in this second clip, we can see I'm hitting to the left of center on the ring, which puts it on the left edge of the range of positions this ring can send your ball, in which this case scores the ball direct from the ring. For most rings, this won't have a major impact on your time, but it might help you understand why certain shots go differently, and in rare cases like avalanche, it can be a key gameplay point. So that covers rings. Like I said, the most important thing is here for you to explore the maps and learn what the rings do so you can best use them to your advantage. Some of the holes have these tunnels which seem to be powered by turbo wind, which lets us travel between different sectors of holes. Some of them are the only way to progress, while others just provide alternative routes. Your ball will get sucked into the tunnel once it gets close enough to the entrance. Some of these do feel weaker than others, so you won't always get away with just hitting it in the general direction of the tunnel, but you'll get a feel for these as you play more. Whilst in a tunnel, you won't use boost, and your boost meter changes to green here as well to show you that's what's happening. You still also gain the normal amount of boost that you get per glide. Your glide will be automatically turned on once you're in the tunnel, and automatically cancel out if you don't have your glide toggled or held on. To get the best landing, I recommend you do manually glide so that when you're in the exit, you can position your car in the smoothest way possible to land. Now, one of the most important things I wanted to tell you about the tunnels is that the spin you put on the ball on entry can seriously affect the trajectory on exit. Look at this example on Twin Kingdoms. So for this first shot, I'm approaching the ball from the left, which is going to apply right side spin on the shot. The spin continues through the tunnel, and as we can see, the ball goes far to the right on exit. This shot is going to be tough to follow and redirect towards the intended path, which is just to the left. Now, if we look again at a similar play. I position the first shot slightly differently, so I'm attacking the ball from the right to apply left spin. The ball again retains that on the way through and results in a massively different and much better landing zone. Now, let's talk about pickups. You'll find these scattered around every hole in TGR, and they give you a chance to do different things which mostly spice up the multiplayer side. At the time of making this video, there are only 4 pickups in the game, so I'll just briefly go through each of them and what they do. The first pickup is the Humble Boost Canister. This is the only pickup in the time trial game mode where I trust you're learning the game and honing your play before jumping into online lobbies. These will give you a full tank of boost to help you keep your speed up. This is the only pickup which doesn't take up your pickup slot, so you can take these at any time. With all the remaining pickups, you can only hold one at a time, so if you're currently holding one, you will have to use it before being able to collect another. The Mega Boost can is the next and probably the most fun pickup. These red cans give you a single-use Mega Boost up to around 140 speed for 1 second, which is great for catching up to your ball for the next shot or hitting the ball far down a straight fairway or towards the hole. The Rocket is the only attacking pickup available in the game currently. These provide, well, a rocket which you can fire at other cars. This targets players automatically and will cause your opponent's cars to lose all momentum if they can't block it with a shield. Rockets can fizzle out and explode against the environment if they have to go too far, like through a tunnel, so it's best to fire when you have a clear line of sight to an opponent. The shield is the natural counter to the rocket. We can generate shields by flipping the car, but it's also available as a pickup for times when you're not able to complete a flip without losing lots of time. The shield will deploy for around 2.5 seconds of personal safety. It's worth noting that the shield pickup does not give you the 7-second persistent shield that you get for blocking a rocket with a flip. The water features of Turbo Golf Racing come in two varieties, Fountain and Waterfall. These both arrived with Season 2 and the introduction of the Aztec biome. As a result, these currently only feature on those holes, but since we might see them again in future holes, we best take a quick look. Fountains shoot water up from the ground, and the water pressure will lift both your ball and your car as they go through, though the effect on your car is less the faster you're going. You don't want to go over these too slowly though, as you can end up stuck. Yeah, this is also suboptimal. There are some forward pointing fountains which will move the ball on regardless if it goes on slowly, but the upright ones are more common for now. The next water feature is the waterfalls, which can appear in both the sheet and column variety. These have pretty much the reverse effect of the fountains, putting downward pressure on your ball and car as you pass through. Overall, the water does little to help us along the way, so generally speaking, you want to find a line that doesn't depend on them. So finally, after navigating the various types of terrain, speeding through tunnels, and using rings to get there faster and more consistently, we've reached the hole. You'll notice that the hole has a gravitational pull, which means that we can be a little less than 100% accurate when it comes to aim and height for shooting. That being said, lower is better, and so is more accurate. The gravity isn't limitless. As you can see here, it's very possible here to hit the ball too hard so it goes all the way through the beam, which will cost a load of time as we have to drive around and collect it. As well as here, we can see that there are consequences for hitting the ball too far to the side. For a lot of holes, especially ones on a hill, the most efficient way to score will be to have your last shot land before the hole and roll in. This prevents the ball hanging in the beam as it stabilizes, which can cost a lot of time. This can also be achieved using the shot core. And there we have it, all the key things that we're going to find in the maps of Turbo Golf Racing. From here, I would just suggest going into the time trial mode and exploring the levels yourself. See what all the rings do and where the tunnels go. You'll never be able to do your intended line 100% of the time, so a big part of the game is improvisation, and knowing a variety of ways to progress will stand you in good stead for when things go wrong. In the next video, we're going to hop into our turbo cars and talk about the movement mechanics in the game. We'll take a similar kind of look as this video into the driving, gliding and dashing and more to understand the fastest ways to get your car around the levels. If you have any questions, just ask me in the comments here, or you can join the official Discord community, which I'll link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and there are trees. So many trees.